What's up guys, I'm going to be breaking down my top 10 anime and manga villain groups for you today. Now take all this with a grain of salt. Some of the different numbers could be changed a little bit. Some of the positions might change as stories progress because some of these are ongoing, of course. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Ragnarok really distills what Kenichi is all about, overcoming each of your obstacles with hard work and by emulating those better than you, and the ability of one good person to change the world. Kisara and Siegfried all join Team Ryozanpaku after they're defeated by Kenichi, and him and Team Ryozanpaku demonstrate what it means to be a friend, and really connect with him on a personal level that Odin really never could. They do not interact so much as a family as a group of delinquents, which they are, but standouts like Loki, who struggle with his own position as a member, and really develops emotionally as the story progresses through interactions with some major characters and minor characters. And finally, the leader Odin, whom is Kenichi's childhood friend, and continually chooses the Satsujinken, or the Killing Fist, because he desires power, and his philosophy really clashes with Kenichi's in such a way that it puts Ragnarok at a pretty good spot, number 10 on this list. The Frieza Force. I gotta say this is a pure nostalgia pick, but the first time I saw the Ginyu Force, it changed my life. The entire lead up to the Namek arc, with Vegeta and Nappa foreshadowing the strength of Frieza, and Vegeta's sheer terror at the Ginyu Force coming to Namek alone elevated them in my childhood brain. But when they all arrive and we see they're total goofballs, I love them even more. They banter back and forth and they act like brothers, making bets and showing off. They have lots of personality. Combined with their leader Frieza and his generals Zarbon and Dodoria, they were truly a threat unlike anything the universe had seen at the time. The Assassin Squad, or La Squadra, from Jojo's Part 5. In one of the most legendary series in all of anime and manga, few groups have put the main squad and the main bad guy in such precarious situations. La Squadra, especially Risotto, Pesci, Prosciutto, and Gyashio, let's go with that, have deep battles with Team Bruno, and the convoluted familial relationship between them and their fight to avenge their two fallen brothers truly humanize them. Grateful Dead and Metallica were truly terrifying, and Pesci proves even the most unassuming stands can mean death. But the biggest mystery of all is why doesn't Pesci have a chin? The Gungho Guns. I'll be the first to admit I remember few details about the Gungho Guns, but I know of 3 characters alone which carry the entire group. Knives, the twin of Vash, and all-around destructive psycho shows what Vash could have become without Rose. And Knives, as a plant, is one of the few characters who can relate to Vash, our main character, having been alive for hundreds of years. The second is one of my favorite characters in general from Trigun, Nicholas D. Wolfwood, the traveling priest who carries around an arsenal shaped like a cross on his back. Wolfwood is a tragic character who struggles with his relationship with the guns and Vash, trying to reconcile what he has done with who he is, and how he feels for his friends. Whenever that cross gets unwrapped, it's go time. Lastly, Legato, this man right here, creates possibly the most devastating situation for the peace-loving Vash. As a pacifist, Vash is against violence in general, but especially killing. So when a town's citizens are held hostage by Legato, and the only way to stop him is by killing, Vash's whole world starts to crumble. Also, shoutouts to Saxophone Guy, he's cool too. The Espada are interesting for a few reasons, chief among them probably being Kubo's art. The designs of Grimgel, Ukiura, and Stark just ooze cool. But when Ukiura is interacting with Orihime or Ichigo, we see glimpses of the depth of character behind those fancy designs, with his curiosity about human emotions and his lack of understanding of his own leading to very interesting character moments. I would say Gin's role as a double agent, with his relationship with Rangiku and blowing a giant hole through Aizen, were particularly great. Aizen, as the leader of course, is a standout, with his bravado and his perfect execution of a plan over many decades, building a wonderful character to show where hubris will get you. But Butterfly Aizen kinda sucked. If I was going purely by cool factor, I would replace this team with Toguro. However, Shinobu Sensui and his 7 psychics challenge Team Urameshi morally and in battle with incredible attacks on what makes humans worth caring for, and what lines are okay to cross in order to keep the peace. Each has his powers that perfectly set up for character development throughout the entire arc. Doctor's ability to infect and remain conscious through any injury forces Yusuke to decide to kill him, contrasted with Kurama's sad, cold defeat of Game Master, a child who, unlike Doctor, had been manipulated into a terrible fate. And all of this leading up into Sensui, a powerful but broken man who could not reconcile the evil of humans with his worldview. And you get one of the greatest arcs with one of the greatest groups of all time. But Kobe is a Marine, you say. Well, let me be clear, the Gorosei, these old guys, the Admirals, what's left of the Shichibukai, and the overwhelming majority of the Marines are all antagonists. The sheer size and complexity with which the world government operates is astounding to say the least, and they've managed to keep the world in the dark about what happened in the Void Century and boast the strongest singular military might in One Piece. It has had standout characters such as Doflamingo, Crocodile, Aokiji, and Kuma under its umbrella, and is always working in the background, even in the latest arcs, which are outside of their jurisdiction. The sheer amount of fan-favorite characters with complex backstories, and the incredible amount of secrecy behind the world government, combine to make it one of the greatest villain groups of all time. The Akatsuki, Pain's group of elite shinobi warriors. The highlights of the Akatsuki to me are Itachi for his clean design and motivations, his relationship and battle with Sasuke, of course, is amazing, and Pain for his fight against the Leaf Village, and goal of ruling the world through fear to create peace, which added a pretty big twist, I thought, to the end of the arc. In terms of other highlights, I will say that Tobi/Obito is kind of interesting, but we really don't get him until after the Akatsuki have kind of become irrelevant. But the other characters do have some interesting moments. Personally, the fights between Kakashi and Kakuzu, Shikamaru and Hidan, and Kisame and Guy are what make the rest of the Akatsuki interesting to me. When Brotherhood starts out, all the villains are pretty small time. We've got the Priest and Lior, for example. But you slowly see people working in the shadows, pulling strings and making plans. The homunculi are, of course, based on a deadly sin, each of them, and their characters really reflect this. Envy, for example, can turn into anybody but has no confidence in itself. Pride has nothing but false confidence, boasting of its power while still confined to its flask. Sloth is physically capable but hates work, and the fan favorite Greedling, shows two souls wishing to obtain everything, or just great things, but doing these things requires sacrifice. It is the homunculi's struggle against themselves, and our struggle that it reflects, that makes them so interesting. The end of Greed and Greedling, for example, when Greed sacrifices himself to save Ling, perfectly displays the former greedy soul of Greed overcoming that desire, and becoming better as a result. And that is why the homunculi deserve the number 2 spot on this list. The Phantom Troupe is a definitive villain group for the genre, not because of all their accomplishments, there are others on this list who have done more, but based on the interaction between the characters. They act like humans, they joke around, they argue, they feel sad and build bonds. When one of them dies, they mourn the way human beings, especially sick ones like them, do, by lashing out. So when we get all the cool scenes, like the Requiem, this scene or this one, and all you need is the indoor fish to explain how sick they are, it comes from a logical, character-driven place. Chrollo's search for himself, Pakunoda's willingness to sacrifice herself for her friends, and Nobunaga's tears over Uvo, and the subsequent struggle with Gon he has in that same scene. All of this goes so far in making the audience understand what the Phantom Troupe is, who they are as people, not only what they are as the object of Kurapika's hatred, and despite this hatred, why they're important, and why I think they're the best villain group of all time.